now Steve Sopolak is filling that role as well as community development.
So are you a civil engineer?
Civil engineering.
Okay.
Once I pass my PE exam, then I'll
great.
take that position. So we created something just to kind of get me
Did
the
Robert-
door.
Great. Well, you'll have to
Robert,
watch our Wetlands Commission
text
and
it?
watch Dave Schweitzer.
Robert should be confirmed. We spoke yesterday.
And he puts
And so I guess
the-
I'll expect both Robert
appearing
and Retha
engineers
to join
on
us in a few
appeals.
minutes.
He
But for
puts
now,
them to the fire. He's really-
yeah,
Say let's get started.
let's
I
get
agree.
started.
For Bob's replacement right now.
All right, so
You're interviewing
calling to
somebody else?
order.
We just interviewed someone today.
Oh.
Calling to order. All right, so this is the first official. Hey, Robert is here, right on time. Welcome, and the best dressed.
Guys came straight from the LOB.
We've got some meeting packets.
I'm on.
Oh, yeah. Can I get you one of those as well? Great. And Ed, here's one for you. All right, so this is the first official meeting for the Sustainable Rocky Hill Task Force. We have all met in a prior capacity, but now we are officially part of the task force. And so the function of this meeting will be to introduce us to the public, who will be looking in on the cameras, and we are going to review the purpose for the task force, go into our meeting schedule for 2023, take care of some foundational activities like electing a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and then we have a number of actions, including proposing bylaws to the town council, language for the website, and some upcoming events. So with that, I'll start with the roll call. I don't have a list in front of me, but I do have everybody's fancy name tag, so I'll just go around. Simon Kusar.
Yes.
Alan Bagdad. Present. Ed Ciccarello. Sandra Kelly.
Present.
Sandy. Robert Downs is present. I'm Derek Kalin, and we are also joined by the town staff member, Jason Scott. So welcome to everybody.
You know, just so people know what I'm doing, I'm gonna just do a draft of our minutes. So I'm just gonna follow along,
Fabulous.
just so if you wonder why I'm not looking at anyone's.
Thank you very much. Great. Well, to start with, I think it behooves us to do a very quick introduction of ourselves for the audience, and I do mean quick because we have only 45 minutes for this first meeting. So I will go first. My name is Derek Kalin. I live on the west end of town on Ridgewood Drive. I'm part of a technology nonprofit called Tech Matters. Simon?
I'm Saima. I live on Partridge Drive. I'm a mother of 4. Currently, I'm pursuing master's in health sciences with a goal to pursue a PhD in neuroscience.
Thank you.
Alan Baglia, 10 Esther Road. I live at about the trailhead of Quarry Park. I live there with my wife Jennifer and daughter Virginia. She's 12. I work in the capacity of artist rights. I work as a licensing executive for artist rights, including visual artists.
Thank you. Ed?
Ed Ciccarello, Riverview Road. I live on Riverview Road. I'm a retired former elementary school teacher. I taught music and I taught 3rd to 5th grade. Activist in town, starting Walk Bike Rocky Hill, helping to start this group, and president of his historical society, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sandy Kelly. I live down near Dividend Pond Trails, which I try to monitor and let the town know when there are hazardous situations. I'm retired HR manager. I've been on the Wetlands Commission for 17 years. I've been on the Farmland Acquisition Commission since its inception, going back to the days with the wonderful Barbara Sawillo, who was the ultimate activist. And I'm involved in too many other things to list. So here I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And my name's Jason Scott. I'm a civil engineer that works for the engineering department here for the town of Rocky Hill. And I'm not a resident of Rocky Hill, so I commute here every day. But I do have an interest in sustainability, and so they thought that I might be a good fit for this group going forward. So I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Thank you. And Robert?
Yeah, I'm Robert Downs. I live, on the west end of town off of French Street, but I grew up on Old Main Street, right across the road on the house. Right across the road from Quarry Park, so I spent a lot of time there I'm an Eagle Scout from town back in 2015. And now I'm the assistant clerk for the Energy and Technology Committee as well as the House Select Committee on Connecticut's Sustainable and Renewable Energy. So that's what I do for work. And yeah, I look forward to hopefully getting my PhD at some point at poli-sci. So we'll see how that goes.
Wonderful. There's another member of our team, Haritha Nagabandi, who will be joining us in a few minutes. So we'll have her introduce herself. But thank you, everybody. A review of the task force purpose. So if you look at your meeting packets, I wanted to introduce the function of the Sustainable Rocky Hill Task Force as it was determined by the town council in September when they created this body. So the purposes of the task force shall be advisory in nature, and its purposes shall be as follows. Advancing goals to continue accreditation by Sustainable CT and participate in other state and federal sustainability initiatives. Exploring and promoting issues related to sustainability and enabling full participation and accessibility for all residents. Facilitate a range of community-based education programs and forums for exchange that promote civic engagement and communication about sustainability in Rocky Hill. So that is why we are here, and all the actions that we do are going to fit under those categories. Action number 4 on our agenda is the meeting schedule. So this will be published online, but in general, we are planning to meet the 4th Thursday of every month, except for the Thanksgiving holiday, which will be scheduled for the 5th Thursday. And we're going to be meeting for typically an hour per session. Okay? So first order of business, where there's more than just me talking, is the election of officers. So
Derek, I would think that we might have to approve the meeting schedule, or do we approve it last time?
that's a great question.
So I would just suggest we approve it, or make a motion to approve it, just to get it on.
All right, well, first motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve that meeting schedule.
I'll second.
Second, okay, so,
Any discussion now?
yeah, any discussion?
Help you out in the beginning, Derek. And then you get going, you'll get it.
I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, who seconded the motion?
Alan.
So hearing none, then you vote on it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Good.
None? Okay, the measure is adopted. We have a schedule.
Great.
Thanks,
you.
Ed.
Yeah.
All right, election of officers. There are 3 officers outlined in the material that we are putting forward to the town council. These are a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. Basically, the chair will be responsible to the town council well, I can read it out loud. Relative to the task force's charge, goals, and work product, and work cooperatively with town staff. The chair will be a non-voting member, except in the case of a tie, preside over regular and special meetings through parliamentary procedure, and ensure timely preparation and posting of meeting agendas. The chair is also responsible for submitting reports that have been accepted by a majority vote, and basically promote the task force to the community. There's a vice chair that will assume the duties of the chair at the discretion of the chair. Hey, welcome.
So sorry.
Don't worry.
No, we're glad you can make it.
No worries, it's on there already.
Yes, and here's a meeting packet. I know you just sat down, but we went through very quickly introducing ourselves to the camera, where we live in town, and who we are in a very brief introduction.
I'm Haritha Nagabandi, and I live in 8 Misty Crescent. I have been in Rocky Hill for past 15 years.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we were getting into the election of officers. So there's the chair, who essentially represents the task force and moderates the discussions. There's the vice chair that assumes some of the responsibilities of the chair as needed, especially when the chair is not present. And then there is the secretary that will, in the absence of support staff, facilitate the proper creation and posting of agendas and meeting minutes, perform duties as requested by and at the discretion of the chair. So at this point, I think we just have a discussion about who wants to take on which roles.
Would it be appropriate for me to nominate Derek to be the chair?
Yeah, I would second.
I would agree.
Definitely.
Get that hard part out of the way.
Right, thank you.
All right, so then,
So there was a motion, a
I
second.
don't know. Yeah,
Sandy?
second, and, okay.
And it sounds
Sandy, you
like,
want the second?
and then discussion. We're all good?
All good?
All right.
okay,
All in favor?
so all
I
in
guess we have
favor?
the vote, all in
Aye.
favor, aye. So now you're officially the chair.
Huzzah, I have seized power.
You have it.
All right, more
That's it.
complicated is the vice chair.
I nominate Alan to be vice chair, Alan Baglia.
I respectfully decline the responsibility at this time.
Okay.
Understood.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else have an interest?
Aditha, Robert, anyone?
I think Robert might, judging by the fact
We've
that
got a
Robert is
spot
taking
for him.
minutes, I think we've got a spot.
Yeah, I can. We'll get through. We get through. I'm open to whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Aretha, what do you think?
Yeah, sure, I can,
Oh,
if
wonderful.
everyone agrees,
All
yeah.
right, well, I nominate Haritha to be our vice
And
chair.
and I'd like to second that. And
Okay.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Anybody else want to put themselves forward?
No other hats in the ring?
No?
Don't see any.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
All
thank you,
opposed?
Thank you,
Aditha.
Haritha.
Wonderful. And the secretary position. Can I nominate, even if I'm a non-voting member?
I don't know if the chair.
Well, you're not a non-voting member yet. We haven't approved the bylaws.
That's true.
Oh.
And
So
and I
go
have
for it.
issues with the bylaws.
Aha, well, that's the next on the
Yeah.
agenda, I think.
I nominate Robert.
Any second?
Second?
All right, all, discussion.
No.
Hearing none.
Robert, would you accept it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Tear yourself away from the secretarial duties, and please accept that.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Great.
Hearing none. Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so myself for chair, Haritha Nagabandi for vice chair, and Robert for secretary. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Okay, so the first order of business in the discussion section will be the staff report. Jason.
Hi, I'll keep this very, very brief, being it's our first meeting. But I'd just like to welcome all of you newly appointed members to this group. I know that the town is really excited about sustainability, and I think it's a great thing that you're all getting involved. I know that some people here have been involved in a lot of other issues, and I know that everyone in this group has already been involved in sustainability quite a bit. So I'm very excited to be part of this group, if only as a liaison, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys can come up with to help guide this town as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Jason?
I do have a question. I just overheard your promotion, appointment. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of your position with the town?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a civil engineer. I was hired for the position that I currently have, which is civil engineer / inspection coordinator, with the goal of becoming town engineer. But at the time that I was hired, I did not have my professional engineering license, which I'm studying to take the entrance exam for that now. So upon successful completion of that, the plan is for me to assume the role of town engineer.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, moving on to proposed bylaws. So in everybody's meeting packet, starting on the fourth page, there are proposed bylaws. These are not in effect yet. They are something that we proposed to the town council for their approval. So our role right now is to review the bylaws and to provide feedback and edits. Any discussion of the bylaws? And I know you had some commentary.
I have a number of changes. If you'd like me to just begin, I could begin.
Yeah,
It's
let's do it.
just, I'm going to be going through the whole thing, and I'm going to give you my changes, and I think there are a number of issues with them. Well, as I go through, I'll discuss. So in section 2, purposes, number 1, I would change advancing goals to advance, and I would delete to continue accreditation. I would say to advance the Sustainable Connecticut certification for Rocky Hill, and then everything else is the same.
Where are you looking at? I'm sorry.
Section 2, purposes, number 1.
Gotcha.
To advance, delete to continue accreditation by, and then add certification for Rocky Hill. I think accreditation is just not the right word there, in my opinion. Sounds like we're going to college. Can I continue, or is that?
I guess, what would be the best method? Ed, you've been in a bunch of meetings where people have been editing documents. What's the most
Well,
productive way?
if somebody opposes it, then I think they would speak up and say they oppose it, or discuss it in any way. I don't think it's earth-shattering
No.
things that I'm changing right now.
Could you read that sentence one more time? please?
Yes, to advance the Sustainable CT certification for Rocky Hill, and everything else remains the same, and participate in other state and federal sustainability initiatives.
Okay.
I could read it again if you wish.
To advance, I
advance.
mean, don't we want to, well, I guess it is, because we want to move, we want to step it up to the next
The
level.
certification,
So,
to
yeah, so
advance,
that- does
to move
advance
forward
mean
the
move forward?
certification.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
talked about, initially it was advancing goals to continue accreditation.
Too many words.
But accreditation, to me, doesn't mean anything. It means, I think, college, so that's why I put in certification.
I feel strongly about this, but isn't accreditation the point system that's set up?
Certification is the point system.
Oh, okay.
Not
Yeah, then I
accreditation.
don't have any objection to that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, can I move on?
Yep.
You know, I would, and this is the writer in me, I would just say advance the goals, because we've got, unless you're making that to explore and to facilitate.
Yes, that's
You're
what
gonna
I am.
put two in
That's
all
what I'm
these?
planning on
Okay.
doing. I didn't like the gerund exploring and then facilitate, it just wasn't consistent.
Sharon, go.
So, can I go to number 2 then?
Yep.
Please.
To explore and promote are the changes. That's it. Instead of exploring and
Okay.
promoting. And the last one, number 3, is to facilitate. Just
Okay.
add to facilitate. And that's it for that section.
Okay.
If I move to section 3, duties, the first sentence, I'm just, again, getting rid of a gerund, and perform. Will accomplish its purposes and perform, not by performing, but and perform the following duties. Again, this is just some grammar stuff.
And Ed, am I right that you've marked up this document already on your computer? Could we take it as writ that like all the gerunds are going to be replaced with active
It's
verbs?
not,
where-
no more gerunds.
Okay.
There you go. There's a number of content
Okay.
issues. Number 7, it says to submit to the council bi-monthly. Now, in the resolution, it says every 6 months. So if you want to adopt it to be bi-monthly, I think that's
That's a
over
lot.
achieving, and I'm all for overachieving, but this is going to be on the chair to meet with, to go to the council and report. So I would say instead, every 6 months, as the resolution stated.
Honestly, I have no trouble going to the town council every 2 months with an update.
Okay.
That's a weird word, bi-monthly.
Yeah.
Some might think it's twice a month.
It means
Bi-monthly
both.
could mean, yeah, to
So I
me,
would
that
change
means twice in a month.
Regardless of the duration, I changed that because it doesn't really, it's not clear what it means to 7, 8 of us.
So
Yeah.
every other month, perhaps?
I'm confused.
Every 2 months?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months?
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
I'm comfortable with being more
Okay.
present in front of the council, so.
And I'm comfortable with you being.
There it is.
So you're making it to submit?
So it would be-
You're sticking your 2 in there?
No, I didn't,
Okay.
it just says
Submit.
to
'Cause
submit
it
to the
now
town
agrees
council
with the other
every
tenses.
2 months,
Hey,
Hi.
welcome.
okay?
Or more frequently, if the council requests. Shall so request.
Or if the task force so desire. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
submit to the council or more frequently reports concerning the activities of the task force, right?
We're going over the bylaws now, Terry, just FYI.
Yeah, I'm just here to help. I know I can give you an update on what's happening when I've been asked.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think we should try to go through here, and then there's a mechanism to like add things to the agenda, right? Okay. But in the interest of time, Ed, please continue.
So this one here is marked up pretty well. I'm going to read my change. Well, first off, I don't believe that the Office of Town Clerk has anything to do with this committee, and I don't believe that the town clerk would even want records and things of us stored there. So my purpose here is to omit the town clerk and include only Department of Community Development Services and Jason's. So it would read this: the office of the task force shall reside in the Department of Community Development Services in Town Hall.
I'm so sorry, is this?
The
What
office
section?
shall reside.
This is Article 2, office.
Oh, okay, you chopped that all up. That's-
If I can jump in for a moment.
Please.
I'm not sure if we're able to do that because there are some documents that will be filed with the town clerk's office.
That will or won't?
Yeah, I believe so. The motions that you file here will be action items that I think have to be
Oh,
filed.
okay.
As well as the agenda itself.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's okay to remove that or not yet. We could have it on there as a possible change, and I can ask about
It
it.
does say "or."
Yeah, what is
So
the
that's-
position of the Department of Community Development Services in this task force?
This is Jason.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah.
I work for that,
Or, okay,
that
so
division, so I
or-
figured that
But if you,
preparations that I
if
need
you
to
say
file.
they're definitely filed with the town clerk, then it's not an or option.
I should, well,
I did,
should
because
just file for it?
I just need clarification, or maybe you get back to that on us.
I can get back.
So we can't
Yeah, so
be
we're- no
definite
change on
on
that.
everything. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So we really
Okay.
want Jason to verify if that can be an or in
Yeah.
that sentence?
Okay.
Article 3, membership duration. Further in the bylaws, it talks about, at 5.2, it talks about membership duration. By replacing a member, it's going to be 3 years. So it doesn't say any duration in this right here. It says membership shall be set forth by the town council. Now, most times, committees run concurrently with the election cycle. So it's an amount of 2 years. And that's what I would suggest, that terms are 2 years and shall run concurrently with the election cycle. But right now, it's very vague in this.
The 3-year staggered is odd. However, the 2 years that run in conjunction with the election cycle for most commissions is because those commission members are appointed by the party in power. You know, that hinges. We're not, as far as I can tell. We're just volunteers
Engaged
to do
citizens.
this. Engaged, right. So that's just my take on the 2 year, but it is odd. So let's say you go for 2 years, you're for 2 years, and then we get somebody in and they get 3 years. I mean, it's just an odd breakdown.
Whatever it is, we need to be consistent. And, if the first sentence says membership of the task force in terms of office shall be set forth by the town council. So it's not, there's no duration there right now. Okay, if it's going to be set forth by the town council, then we need to ask the town council, then what's the duration, or are we?
Where did these come from?
I prepared those documents based on the recent task force that was created, the Inclusion and Innovation Task Force, and then modified some of the language to suit this as just a jumping off point.
Okay.
for the group
So
to
they did
discuss.
have this odd 3-year for.
They had a staggered cycle that they created so that members would not all be appointed and then completely terms at the same times. So
Alright, so it's
they
almost
had, some people
protection.
would, once they were elected to a position, certain positions would last for 3 years, certain positions 2.
There'd be continuity.
Right, and so I left that in the document to see if anyone would pick it up, so that we could discuss that, because the reading that I had from the information I have from the appointments for you, they're left open-ended. So I wasn't sure if the town council
Right.
had intended on a term limit. And so I wasn't sure what the proper method would be, whether a letter should be drafted from this group that we should present to the town council asking that question, or I'm not sure what the proper procedure was. So I thought that perhaps bringing you up here at this meeting might be the best thing.
Do you have a suggestion for a change then?
Well, initially I had said that I thought that the terms should be 2 years and run concurrently with an election cycle. The Park and Rec Advisory Board, that's what happens there. And we could all be appointed once again. I mean, just as simply as that.
We were appointed because we said, I'll do it. It's
Correct.
not like we were,
Correct.
there were many people volunteering, and we were the selected few. So yeah, it's, to me, it's totally different. And we're not appointed by the party in power, which
Right.
is a huge piece of the other commissions.
Right.
You have
So
a-
I'm okay either way. I just wondered where it came from and how we,
Either way, leaving it open-ended?
We'll leave it with 3 years, the staggered.
Well, no, it's not 3 years now.
Well, for the alternate,
Yes, correct.
I
Yeah,
left
right,
it-
if you
I
look
left
at...
that language only in the alternate.
only for the
I
alternates.
removed it from all the others. So I wasn't sure how you guys want this.
Subsequent appointments. Subsequent appointments is not an alternate, it could be an 8th member, is that right?
Or
Oh, successors to members. I'm sorry.
successors, yeah, so if I leave,
Yeah,
somebody's gonna come in, they'll say, well, how long is the term for? We're gonna go, and this, in that case, it's 3 years.
That's right, so if a
So-
2-year person leaves, a 3-year person gets appointed. Is that what that says?
I don't know, I'm confused by
I
it, so.
think section 1 should state something. Otherwise, it's pretty toothless for section 1 to say, as set forth by the town council, when it's not clear to anyone that it's been set forth. And that's going to be set forth in the next meeting.
So speaking of, this is actually a more substantive conversation, and I'm conscious of the fact that we have about 15 minutes
Oh,
remaining
okay.
and a lot of things left on the agenda.
Yeah.
How do we want to tackle this? Do we want to
Table
have a
it.
special meeting later on? Do we want to continue bringing this up in our next meeting? Jason, are we able to have another meeting without this being resolved?
We can't be expected to pass bylaws having seen them in real time.
Right.
So you suggested earlier that you wanted to set up a special meeting.
Yeah.
So we should table it till then.
So we could.
Okay. So maybe we plan to table this and have another meeting dedicated to hashing this out.
Considering that it's B,
Yeah.
and we want to get to F, and
You read my mind, Alan. And we also have a guest that we'd like to hear from
correspondence
as well.
communications, yeah.
Okay, so
I make a motion that we
Need to-
table the discussion on the election of officers to,
No, bylaws, please.
Bylaws.
the section
6B.
of election of officers in the bylaws.
uh,
We're doing the whole
He's
bylaws?
talking about all the bylaws.
Oh, okay. I make a motion that we table the discussion on bylaws to a subsequent specially scheduled meeting.
thank you very much. Second.
I second.
Second.
And that's specifically 6B proposed bylaws, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great. We will pick this up at another time. Carrie, you're here and you said that you had something to share with the group?
Yeah, just super quick. I was reached out, I had a meeting with Patrick Shortell. He's the lobbyist for Waste Zero.
Okay.
Ring a bell for anyone?
Mm.
Okay. Is it Kay Brown? Is it Karen Brown?
Kristen.
Kristen Brown, okay. I'm just looking at who was in the meeting.
This is an update around the SMM grant?
Yes, and
Okay.
they basically were like, SOS, we need help, like, it's stalled. So I got this gentleman, so Patrick is getting deep there. And then that's what we left that he's doing. I'm reaching out to Jonathan Murray from Murphy Road Recycling and getting a meeting together to see how can we get this thing moving. Is that helpful?
Yes,
Okay.
that is great to know.
Because I was like a little sad when they were telling me, like, we're really worried this is super slow getting rolled out right now.
Is it in the hands of also of our town attorney?
I don't know anything. I just said, what do you need me to do? I will call people and get a meeting together. So, you know, I mean, I'm kind of on the outskirts. I haven't been on the inner circle of what you guys are doing, but I'm super supportive of it. You know,
Well,
obviously it's like
attorney was
front page
working-
news.
So you're going to invite Ray Carpentino and Lisa Murata, Mayor Murata?
I can, yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
think, because I'm sure.
And I'm meeting
they-
with them tomorrow too,
Great,
so I
great.
will let them, I'll fill
Yes,
them in on,
yes.
on all of this, and maybe they even have some new info for
There's
me.
been progress, but not enough.
Okay.
And it's time.
Yeah, and this
it's-
is happening like, I guess, everywhere, and they feel almost like it's intentional stalling.
It's been 6 months.
Yeah,
So,
Everywhere within deep? within-
everyone that's gotten, a lot of the towns that have gotten the grants.
Got it, okay.
So,
So-
no, don't put out a grant to set up people to fail. Like, let's get it going.
Okay, so next steps then for you, or you're continuing to talk with members of the town?
Yep,
and-
I'm meeting with Ray Carpentino and Mayor Murata tomorrow, just on everything. This will be part of it, and I will continue to reach out to Jonathan, who we've reached out to since last week and have not heard back from. But like every day, we're reaching out.
Wonderful, thank you for that update.
Yeah.
do you need a sustainable task force member there?
As soon as the meeting is set, I'll let you guys know. Feel free to add whoever.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions and comments? No? That's great. We haven't had much news around that, so that is a handy thing to know. Very good. Okay, moving on to C, proposed website language.
I don't know maybe I suggest we motion to table that too.
Yeah?
Only in the interest of time, because what would it entail?
This is stuff to go onto the website for Sustainable Rocky Hill Task
Seems
Force.
like it could be a bit of a slog.
Okay.
So
Maybe
our
add that to
motion-
the special meeting?
I think I'll motion to table it because I don't think anyone's going to be able to come up with, propose, and agree to website language in time restraints.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's tabled as well. Okay, so there are upcoming events that we'd like to raise awareness for and to get team members involved in. One that you folks might remember is a training event that the Nature Conservancy has offered to arrange for the town of Rocky Hill. This is the Community Resilience Building Workshop. I think it fits under Action 5.2, but I might be mistaken about the Sustainable CT action. It's been a while. Essentially, the function of this workshop is to get members from across the town together, a representative body, to talk about how climate change is either affecting them or projected to affect them, to identify areas of vulnerability for the town, and to, the output of this whole process is TNC summarizes the conversation that they host with the town and provide recommendations for things that can be included in future planning processes. So this could feed into the next conservation and development plan. This could feed into, planning more generally within the town. I have an interest in doing this. I'm curious whether other people are interested in supporting the arrangement.
One question, how long is it? When is it?
We can set the time. The workshop is several hours on one day.
Oh.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Seems like something I could benefit from.
Yeah.
Without knowing anything other than.
Okay.
I
Tell you what, I
mean,
can send everybody the details, but general interest from Alan and Ed,
I'm interested, sure.
Simon. Wonderful.
And Aretha was nodding her head.
Yeah? Wonderful.
Sandy and
I want
Robert?
to see the details.
See the details, yeah.
Okay.
What's the date and time of it?
We can determine it in
Okay. Oh,
conjunction
yeah.
with the
Okay.
Nature Conservancy.
Then absolutely, I'm interested. Yeah.
Okay, so action item for me then is just to share it around and I'll follow up.
Would it be Zoom or live?
Up to us, they would prefer to do it live, but we can set that as well. Okay. Okay, other events. I might ask Alan to give an update on this next one.
Thank you. And this was added to the agenda because I've had a great deal of interest in a documentary film called Street Project, The Street Project. Mostly because of its content, but secondary interest is because the filmmaker is from West Hartford. It's a film that she made her name's escaping me at the moment, so sorry about that. But the filmmaker made a film that highlights and discusses the concept of, quote, traffic violence in this country and the rising threat of pedestrians and cyclists and vulnerable road users at risk. So it has been screened in Hartford, West Hartford, Fairfield, and there's one scheduled for Bridgeport, and I thought we could host one in Rocky Hill. A couple of reasons why is because Hartford, West Hartford, Fairfield, and Bridgeport are big cities. Rocky Hill should not be excluded because of its size. I think a small town can benefit from this just as much as a big city. And it would be a great launch pad for this sustainable group as well. And so, having just walked by the library, I see that they close at 5. That would not be a good venue unless we had it during the day. But I think Town Hall could also be a venue. But I think venue can come at another time, and time can come at another discussion. What I'd like to know is if the group here is in favor of this in principle.
I, for one, think it's a great idea.
It would be essentially Sustainable Rocky Hill hosting a screening at a place and time to be determined. And I'd be remiss to not add that I've already contacted the office of Senator Matt Lesser to see if he would be interested in co-hosting this. Only because I think state plays a big role in this conversation. And obviously, Kerry's not excluded from co-hosting that. It's just a question of does Sustainable Rocky Hill want to go forward and support this public screening?
So this fits in with our purview because it is relevant to complete streets. The idea that all the roads in town should be for all users, whether they use cars, they're pedestrians, they're bicyclists, or use public transportation. Yeah. It also is relevant for the PIC committee, which has submitted language about complete streets to the town council. So this is a great way for the town to raise awareness of pedestrian safety and for citizens to be engaged in the planning of their streets.
And hasn't Parks and Rec wrote a letter in what capacity supporting what? Complete streets as a concept?
The bike, the draft bike trail.
Greenway?
The Greenway. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they're
What
very.
about, I'm sorry, Alan, having this at the community center? I mean, they've got.
Yeah, no, I
occupational-
think so. It's obvious. I think that's
Okay.
that's
Absolutely.
There's parking, there's space, there's staff,
And we can rent rooms for free, which is always nice.
Rent them for free.
And libraries probably, I would imagine, not too small, but I think it's a town initiative. It should be a town campus hosted event.
The one.
Unless Carrie wants to host it in her house.
I motion, no. The one challenge with this, I think, is that there's a $250 fee for licensing it, which they've said that they're flexible.
Very flexible. A couple of things can happen there. One is that the senator's office can pay for that with, I think, discretionary funds. But I'm speaking, a little bit ahead of the game.
Yep.
The other thing is that this street projects, the producer of the street projects are saying that if if participating groups that are hosting this can, it's almost like can join a Zoom on February 5th that discusses the project entirely with Bike Walk Connecticut. That's hosted by Bike Walk Connecticut. You go on vacation, they like do a seminar, and you can get a timeshare. It sounds a little bit like that. If you join this Zoom,
Right.
you can get a sliding scale on the license. But I think what I'd have to do is come back with more information on that.
So my question is, for this body, what are next steps? Do we want to have like a subcommittee dedicated to complete streets, like a team of 3? I see Sandy laughing, but like the my point is, like, can we keep the people responsible for organizing this small so that we don't have to get a quorum, or we don't reach a quorum by meeting around this issue?
I'm going to be completely honest. One of the reasons I thank you for nominating me for vice chair, but I wanted to kind of funnel my energies into Complete Streets more. So if there was a committee that was formed to be a Complete Streets committee, I'd be happy to play a big role.
I think your point tonight, though, is basically is saying, does this group support it? Hard to support without knowing. I mean, of course, you vouching for it, I support you and your what you bring to this without seeing it. But I assume that what you're saying is a good thing for us. So I would say I would make a motion to support it with you being the lead on this project.
I thank you. I spoke to the producers. I talked to people that are actually featured in the film, and I contacted the senator's office. So having said all those things, I feel like I am.
Somebody want to second that, or?
Second it.
So we
Okay,
got
discussion. I mean,
What I said.
Yeah. So what is the motion here?
The
then?
motion is for the Sustainable Rocky Hill Task Force to support the street project screening.
Okay.
Are we
With
making
Alan being the lead.
a committee for it? Or?
No,
No,
Alan
this
being
sounds
the
like-
lead
An event.
Okay,
in
gotcha.
event.
I think if I could make a friendly amendment, if that's the place for this, that an action item would be to bring us more information.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
I
totally
think
fair.
if it's emailed to everybody,
Yep.
you can do that, and we're FOI okay? As long as you email the
Just,
group.
it's
So we
not
don't have to wait for
opinion.
another meeting to get information.
So it wouldn't be me emailing my opinion about it, it would be me emailing
The facts.
the friendly amendment information.
Right.
Namely, here's a trailer, here's where it's been screened, here's the filmmaker's blurb, if you like.
Exactly.
The Zoom,
Yeah.
the Zoom.
So the motion is basically for us to do this
Secondary to-
and for Alan to be organizing and sharing information with the
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the timing is great because I knew I got to sit with you all and discuss it, Thursday, and then, get your feedback.
2
and then
minutes.
Do
Yep.
other action points. So,
Any other discussion? No?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none? Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
First order of business. There's another event that I want to bring up. Basically, there's a book club around, it's called We Are the Ark. It's about how people can use their gardens to support the local biosphere, and planting native plants and all the things that we very much love. This is something that would be organized actually by Melina Rudman, and I'm playing a support role. So it's awareness raising. I'm not sure an action is needed on behalf of this group because we are not actually organizing. And then finally, I'd like to propose that we have another special meeting, more to think big picture, because we are going to be meeting once a month. I'd like us to think about, okay, what does the next year, what does 2023 look like? What changes do we want to see happening in the town with regards to sustainability? And talk big picture, maybe invite members of the public, and then work backwards to talk about a plan that, okay, these are the actions that we're going to take. Would people be interested in having a special meeting dedicated to this?
We need a special meeting for the bylaws,
Correct.
so, could we have the bylaws and that visioning at the same time?
I think that this exercise would take an hour, the one that I have in mind.
I have no problem meeting more than an hour. I think to say that where our meetings are going to last an hour is limiting us right off the bat. So, takes what it takes, in my opinion.
Okay, so we can,
and this,
Asking my permission. It's cute.
this 45 minutes is kind of an exception. Is that what I'm
This
hearing?
was tight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe,
May I
Please.
say, to back up to the meeting about the bylaws, is it acceptable to Ed to send out his marked up edition or version? So we could look at it and have our opinions, so we could move through it rather smoothly, I think?
right, I think the only thing that we need to have a public meeting for is accepting it, right? But we can have,
I would think
editing
so.
a document be?
I think if you had a shareable document that the public could view if they chose to, with you having the editing rights, guys could probably, I would think that you'd be able to make the changes you wanted to make, and then at a later date, you could have a vote on whether to accept it.
Right, so the actual thing that requires a public meeting is
Well,
the transmission to the town council.
I'm thinking of, on the Wetlands Commission, when an applicant makes changes to his plan, or plan. I don't think the changes go out to the public, they go out to the commission to review. So I think the same thing with this document, I don't know that it has to go to the public. I'm just trying to do it right, and not send it to the public if we don't have to, because it's still in the infant stages.
Yeah.
I mean, is that okay? I just don't want to run afoul.
That seems logical
We
to
can just
me. What I
share
would
it to
propose is that
everybody.
we share it to everybody, edit it on the document, and then the next meeting we have,
Bring back our comments.
we could even resolve comments online, I think. It's just a question of, do we agree to transmit it? The only thing that we might need conversation for is there is a substantive conversation, like beyond gerunds, like if we say, no, we want our terms to be 5 years or something like that, then we'll need to talk about it.
And by the same token, Alan, are you doing like website verbiage, or who's doing?
That was me.
You are, okay.
I proposed that.
So, is there anything that could be sent out ahead of time?
Yeah?
Yeah, because that's way beyond me.
Okay.
Okay, so we could just get a jump and we'd be more prepared.
Okay.
And
So.
I'm not locking this into an hour, you know, I'm just curious.
Seems like website verbiage. Yes, right? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
sort of bullet points and some?
So in the interest of time, I think there are two things that are being discussed. One is that we have that we asynchronously discuss the language behind the bylaws and the website language, right? And then the decision at our next meeting can be simply to accept them or not. So it would be on all of us to like actually communicate with each other after this online. Separately, there is something that does need a special session, which is this vision and planning thing that I would propose for an hour. So I think that does require a special meeting. I can't propose it though. Would somebody?
Oh.
Are we allowed to use the third-party tools like Trello, where you had the whole actions created, right? Where it is more visible and we know like, okay, what are the ones we want to
Yeah.
commit? We can use those tools, right?
Absolutely. We could do like, if you wanted, we could do a Zoom meeting and have a screen share where that is visible to everybody and the people who might be watching.
I still think we need to do the bylaws at the next meeting. We're gonna have a special meeting and we're gonna run without bylaws. We have to at least adopt Robert's Rules of Order, which we're going by anyways. But, you know, I would suggest have the bylaws and the visioning be in the same meeting,
Okay.
just so we can get it done. It's gotta be done.
Okay,
It's
so
gotta be
the
our first
special
order of
session-
business.
The special-
Bylaws would be, sorry.
Yeah.
You're sending out bylaws, everybody reading it on their own time, having a special meeting, voting on it.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Or-
Any objections would come in the context
So
of
the meeting, what I'm hearing Ed saying is that we would have a special meeting. The agenda would be vote on the bylaws so we can actually talk to each other, and then go into the visioning session. Is that?
That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
And table website language code in next
Yeah,
meeting.
but in priorities, yeah, these
I
would be
think
our
so.
first two priorities.
Okay.
That's great.
And in turn, I'll be reaching out with street project information on a separate conversation.
All right, so
All right.
let's make this official. Somebody want to propose that?
Say that again.
So,
Repeat it.
I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting. And on that meeting, the agenda will be the adoption of the bylaws and visioning and planning for 2023.
Wonderful.
I second that.
Okay, discussion,
We just need to pick up the date.
we can figure that out. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
All
sorry,
opposed?
I didn't catch the second.
Alan.
So you'll be looking, Jason, at room availability?
Okay, so that'll
There's some
be where the
Tuesdays
date
available
comes
in
from.
February already, 7th and 14th so far. 14th could potentially be bad for me personally, but
We'll figure out a time that works for every member of this group.
You do that online?
Yep. Okay, conscience of time. We don't have correspondence and communications to my knowledge.
Well, hold on a second. In regards to correspondence and communications, I've been, as you said, and as Dana said, I've sent out a number of emails recently, and I'm CCing both of you, correct? And you're seeing these?
I've
Yeah.
gotten some recently, yes.
Okay. Because the idea was that I'm supposed to CC you whenever I'm writing about sustainable.
Sure.
Okay, so that's communication, just verifying that.
Okay. Final thing, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Sandy, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So you try to keep it to 45 minutes?
Yeah, well, for
somebody-
this time.
This particular one, because